The real core of my work and the focus that I've had, really ever since I was young, had to do with color. I love working with color. It's a huge part of my life. I see it everywhere. It impacts me. I get excited about it. It feels good, whether it's in my painting or anywhere else. I have to use it. In Rhode Island, people say, "Where are you from?" And I can say, well, I grew up in Virginia, and then I did my undergraduate work in Philadelphia for a few years, for 4 years, and then I did my graduate work in New Mexico. And that was pretty important for me to get off the East Coast and have an experience that was, purely Western. I used to go visit my grandmother who lived alone in New York. And the introduction to that world, which was a huge juxtaposition to, growing up on a farm, I think established a different kind of creative spark. The Metropolitan Museum and the Guggenheim and the Whitney were all pretty basic teaching tools for me. I learned a lot about art right there. I like to start a painting with one big solid wash of color. And usually that mood of that first layer of color, that could be 10, 20 layers following it, but that sort of sets the pace of the painting for me. I've always loved working with oil paint primarily because there's a richness and density and lusciousness. It's a great wet medium, and I can push it around, make it thicker, make it thinner. It can drip, you can extrude it. It just has a density and substance quality that feels right for me. I became interested in patterning in my paintings. I had been looking at textiles. I was always pulled to textiles. I love fabric, and I love the patterns in fabric. And those paintings were kind of the first time the paint got really heavy and thick and juicy. The year I left New Mexico, just as I was leaving town, I was walking down the street, and George O'Keeffe was walking right in front of me. It was a kind of a sign. It was a difficult moment for me to be leaving this beautiful part of the country and the landscape there that had such a big impact on my work. Having been there for 3 years and then seeing George O'Keeffe right before I left, I think meant that it was okay to keep going. The image of a net can refer to leakage, spillage, excess, containment. I mean, it works with a kind of counterpoint. And why I really enjoy working with the net is because I can make that become a really fluid aspect of the painting. So by taking something wet like paint, putting it down, and then making an image on top of it that's also wet, referring to wetness, in the ocean or the sea or something, all helps it kind of come together for me. It's a fun process. It's like writing on a birthday cake. I'm in a place right now with the work where I'll start with the layers, I'll impose an image on the surface of a vase, because I've been working with these containers for a while, and then when it's the right sort of viscosity, I'll start putting the net on top of it. The vases are shapes that can refer to containment, to the body. Love the color of the vases, love the shapes of them. I almost see them sitting in as characters. I arrived at Brown in 1980. I honestly didn't think I was going to spend the rest of my life in Rhode Island. I thought that Coming to Rhode Island was great for me because it was an opportunity to move back east and get close to New York again. And because RISD was right next door to Brown, that provided, you know, sort of instant artist friends for me. I'm a professor of art, and I teach painting and drawing and senior honor students and independent study students. It's really tricky to have the balance between how much generosity flows out of one, you know, when they're teaching, and then, you know, when do you hold back and have something left for yourself back in the studio. But, you know, I managed to do that. The experience in my studio is completely different than what happens in the teaching world. I'll do a group of paintings and then make drawings of the paintings. Normally one would work on a series of preparation drawings and then make the paintings based on the drawings. But I've often worked backwards, not in the mood to paint, gotten to a certain level with this group of paintings, and I'll just need to seek more information. And I'm able to do that in the drawing, reflecting on the paintings on paper, and then that group will lead to another group of paintings. Every day there's a new problem to solve. There's some unexpected accident. Hopefully a series of accidents can happen that will provoke a new thought or a new image or a new shape or something. And I want to be able to find a direction to go in. I think every artist does. But that just comes with being in the studio.